find most interesting about Brooklyn Nine-Nine is how Jake Peralta and Captain Holt are continuously said to be very similar. It's hinted at more than anything because we find out that Jake is much like Captain Holt was when he was young. Captain Holt was kind of reckless. He made choices that he shouldn't have. He did all of these things that like put himself and others in danger to try and get the job done or seem cool. And so he grew up and he changed viscerally as a person to become this like new uptight captain. And Captain Holt, we find out, largely becomes the version of himself that he is, who's very by the books, who's very, I wouldn't say stilted, because he's just very monotone, not even monotonous, just speaks levelly. Everything about himself he tries to be level is because of the childhood that he had. His dad died when he was very young, and his mother, a judge, was constantly like also very much like him, very by the book, very serious at all chances to be serious, doing all of these things. And we find out that Captain Holt is doing these things to protect his mother, and his mother is doing these things to protect him, because they're both in so much pain because the father died, but neither of them actually knows how to discuss with each other how to have this conversation, how to admit that they are in pain, that they were grieving, that this was a difficult time for them. And the same thing happens with Karen Peralta. Jake's dad may not have died, but he did die to them in a certain way. Jake's dad was this guy who did all of these absolutely horrific, terrible things. He was actively cheating on his wife at any given opportunity. You were in the way back of the fridge, weren't you? You hear that? That's ice! Damn it. Well, this is now a frappuccino. Okay, so Karen Peralta, oh my god, it's literally ice. Oh, I'm so mad. Is my fridge too cold right now? Okay, Karen Peralta was also actively trying to protect Jake, just like Jake was actively trying to protect Karen Peralta, because she knew about all of the cheating and Jake knew about all of the cheating, but neither of them were willing to tell each other about the cheating because he was cheating with Karen Peralta's friends. He was cheating, Jake's dad was cheating with people that Karen Peralta loved and respected, and Jake didn't want Karen to know, so he wouldn't tell her, and Karen didn't want Jake to know, so she didn't tell him. So neither of them are having these conversations that could really help them and help have Jake to have grown considerably as a person, possibly a bit sooner, because his emotional stuntedness really comes from the fact that he doesn't know fully how to talk about his emotions to people because he never got the chance, because he was hero worshipping his dad and idolizing his mom, but while idolizing his mom, he's also thinking that his mom is just like some fragile being that he has to protect, and that's not the case. Though honestly, another video will come from this. One of my commenters actually did such a good job of commenting a great thing about Karen Peralta, but Karen Peralta should have considered Jake's emotions in the concept of taking back Jake's dad. But that's a different story for another day. But Laverne Holt and Karen Peralta, while being very, very, very different people who would probably really not get along, actually no, I think they would, because Laverne Holt thought Jake was so charming. Karen Peralta would probably Laverne would probably think that she was charming. But that being said, they're so different. One is, again, flaky as can be, and one is so by the book that it's almost kind of stilting her son. But they're both doing it because they don't know how to discuss with their children these things that are really difficult, that they end up discussing with them later on in life. And they do a really good job then, but it takes a long time, and for both times it's because they're just trying to protect their child from pain, but by trying to protect their child from pain, they're actually hurting them more, which is so interesting. Anyways, see this skirt? This is the kind of skirt that I've been looking for 3 weeks. I own exactly one of them. I got it from Disney. And I can't find any more anywhere unless I want to spend $250 on one skirt, which I do not.